Hello and welcome to Unsilence Your Brand. I'm Tracy Cousineau and I'm here with my friend Jessica Dennehy, who is a best-selling author, business strategist, and speaker on the mission to empower leaders to pivot their businesses and mindset so they can slay their goals and enjoy the freedom that comes from success. Through
Hi.
her company, Pivot and Slave, Jessica has entrepreneurs reach out of their comfort zone to find their authentic selves and start taking the risk necessary for success. And Jessica, welcome to the show and Unsilence Your Brand. And we're going to talk to you about, your marketing strategies, how you came up with the company, some risks that you've taken, and what celebrations you have now.
Awesome. I'm so excited to be here. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So, what is one of your biggest takeaways of building a brand? Beginning that brand, coming from your past, and now getting out of corporate America stuff, and then just going right into your own business as a CEO. Tell us why you launched it. What pushed you over that fence of do I do this or not do it? I don't want to clock in and clock out, just like you teach everyone else, the 9 to 5. Give us a little, some samples on this.
Well, I have a lot of examples because I've been doing this for a while now. I was a New York Stock Exchange regulatory attorney. That's my background, and that really was my dream job at the time. But after about 10 years there, I started to feel a little caged. I didn't like the corporate life. I didn't like having to come and go at someone else's on someone else's time and schedule. I just wanted some more freedom to use my creativity and build something that was mine, that was true to who I am, and also gives me the freedom I want to be with my family and create a life outside of the hustle. So at that point, I started a brand of luxury barbershops, which I still have today. They're 10 years strong. I grew them up to 3 locations right now, but more on the horizon. And during that process, I just learned so much about small business because my corporate life was really about large corporations that were trading on the stock exchange. So they had a high revenue. And that's a different animal than small businesses. And I really found that my passion was small businesses, small business owners, because these are people that we know that have come from nothing and have really plugged along, figuring it out through trials and tribulations. And I respect that. I respect that so much. So I decided that my corporate knowledge mixed with my knowledge of running my own small business was really a perfect storm to help other entrepreneurs on their success paths. And so I launched my newest company, Pivot and Slay. And that's really to empower entrepreneurs to take the risks that they need to trust their gut and go out there and just try things, fail, and be okay with the learning experience instead of having this fear that failure is the end all and be all. Just realize that's really where the juice is. That's the juicy goodness that makes us who we are today.
I totally agree with that. I always say, I don't know how the Department of Labor, like who woke up one morning and go, oh, all of a sudden work hours are 9 to 5. I'm just like, you have all these extra hours in your day, and learning that as you're creating and launching businesses, people that come out of that 9 to 5 during those extra hours they're given in their day is how they're starting these new brands and how they're, founding these new companies. And it's like, you have 24 hours in a day. The Department of Labor says you can clock in and out for these 8 hours, right?
Yeah.
And then we're supposed to know that we're supposed to sleep for 8 hours. My body does not understand that mythology of, hey, you're supposed to be sleeping for 8 hours because it only sleeps for like 4. But then what did I do with all these extra hours in the day? So all these folks that are listening that say, hey, I don't have time to come up. I've got all these great ideas. I want to own my own business. I want to be a founder of a company. Whether you want to run the whole thing or you want it to run itself, you have all of these extra hours in a day that you can pivot and you can slay during those hours like Jessica has. So tell us the biggest risk that you took coming out of corporate America.
Oh my God. Well, Okay, we'll start at the beginning, right? When I opened up my first Mad Men barbershop location, I was married at the time. My ex-husband and I still own the brand together. I was 1 week away from having my very first child. 1 week away. Like that was probably the biggest risk we took. We didn't have a lot of money then, but I had a good job, but I was paying all the bills. He was struggling. He didn't have a job at the time. He came up with this idea. I decided to fund it with the last of our savings after we had just bought our first house, right before we had a baby. What I tell my consulting clients is opportunity is not going to wait for your life to be perfect. Guess what? Your life's going to be in the biggest turmoil when the biggest opportunity comes. And you have to trust your gut instinct. If in that moment, my gut was like, this is going to be something, we can make this something. So we're going to do it. And I had no clue if that was true or not. I don't cut hair, neither does he, but I know business. And I just kept learning as I went. So my business skills just got even more cultivated through that process. But at that moment, I wasn't who I am right now. And I was pretty risk averse. And so taking that first leap was tremendous.
So you didn't allow your mindset to say, this isn't the right time because we're about to add another family member to our family. And this is, we don't have the funds for it. You found a way. And that's what I always say is you'll find a way. As long as you are in the right mindset and you're willing to move and hustle and put the grind in and put the grit in, it's going to show back up, you know.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that pretty quickly over time, you were able to put that money back in there. Plus, not having to clock in and clock out in corporate America, you were able to spend more time with your newborn instead of worrying, oh, I got to get back to work. I got to get back to work, because now you have your own business and you set your time.
That's exactly it. And in Pivot and Slay, I'm consulting with other entrepreneurs. And what I tell them is mindset is really the first step to building the foundation of your business, because especially at first, you're a solopreneur, meaning it's just you and you wear all the hats. So whoever you are, you're stepping into the business and you're bringing all your junk. And that could be great junk, positive energy and movement and risk taking, or it can be negative. So whatever you're bringing to the table in your personal life, you're transferring that over into your business life. So to lay a foundation of business is to really start with the inner work, that is tweaking your mindset, being adaptable, having a plan, but realizing like that plan, once it's set in motion, probably something's going to derail you and you're going to have to be able to pivot around it and make it work anyway. And I love to talk to my entrepreneurs about efficiency, because my biggest problem in corporate America was I'm really focused. So I'll go in and I'll know what I have to do and I'll be done in 5 hours. I still work that way now. So then what about those other hours? I'm just sitting at a desk, twiddling my thumbs, not being productive because I can't leave because I have to stay till 5, 6 o'clock, whatever, show my face. In your business, when you work efficiently and you can get all that stuff done that needs to be done for the business, guess what those extra hours are for? Brand awareness, building the brand, propelling it forward, and thinking about those high-level visionary concepts that are going to create not a business, not a company, but a brand.
So give us some tips on that brand, because brand is huge. That's, of course, the reason why we're here is unsilence your brand. What are some of the tips that you can give listeners on how you started unsilencing your brand, so that people would know who you were, where to find you? Because people get confused. Their logo, their colors are not the brand. People are the brand. People do business with people that they like and trust and that they're comfortable with and that you build rapport with. So how did you pivot your brand into your market, into your message, so people knew who you are?
So the reason Pivot and Slay has been so successful so quickly is that I brought 100% of my authentic self to the company. So in order to quote unquote market myself to people as an expert in this area, I had to get vulnerable, which I think for a lot of people is a sacred space that they don't allow to come into the business. And it's a huge mistake if you don't. And here's why. Anyone can go and talk about mindset, right? But once you open up the door to show how you've stumbled and you've come back from the ashes to slay it, people start to understand on a more cellular level that you get where they've been. You understand with and you relate to them as a person. So you've got to find that human connection. And the only way to do that is to embrace who you are and bring it to the table at full force. The problem, I think, is a lot of entrepreneurs have a good business idea and they get stuck in the logistics of the business and they're not bringing any personality into it. So yeah, you need brand colors. Sure, you need a logo. You need a theme. So when people visually see your stuff, they associate it with your brand. But if you don't bring any spark of light and personality to the brand, then it's just going to fall flat and your consumer and ideal client will not be connecting to the brand at all.
Girl, you are speaking my language. I am publishing my second book for the year this week, and it's Unsilence Your Voice. So it totally is kind of what led to the podcast of Unsilence Your Brand is this book, because you have to be vulnerable. You have to be humbling. You have to be real and authentic. And build rapport through your story. We keep hearing story, 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 but it's really everybody's story. It should be different because we're all different. And just being open and real, people will connect with you. And that's exactly what this whole entire book is about. Is I was this high D personality stuck into this introvert because I was always told to be quiet, which made me so shy because you couldn't talk and you couldn't tell what's happening in your household. If somebody got in trouble or somebody won, it didn't matter. You just were always told to shut up and not have a voice. And so you have to put your voice into your brand also, and you have to own stuff. And that's huge too. Like reviews are everywhere, right? And so I read reviews, but I want to see how the founders or the sales managers or whatever are replying back and how their mindset is. How are they replying back to these reviews? Are they being real? Are they agreeing that something shouldn't have happened and take ownership of it? Or are they blaming the consumer and trying to reply back with negative, and that's huge. That's your brand also. Everybody that works with you is your brand also. And so again, I totally agree with you in showing up, but showing your failures. For me, it's like, when I hire someone in the company, it's, I hope you're dysfunctional because we're all dysfunctional, and don't expect it to be perfect because there is no perfectness here.
No.
To own our mistakes.
My whole podcast is about how you've created success from failure. That's what it's called, because everyone's always doing the highlight reel, and you see me now and you're like, oh, she's successful and she wrote a book. But what about like the 40 years before that, right? Like all that time I was making mistakes just like you, and here's how I solved them. And I think part of authenticity is not just showing your mistakes, but kind of giving people some behind the scenes look into your life and who you are. And for me, that's something that was really difficult for me to do. I've only just begun to do that in the last 12 months. I've started to show my kids on reels with me, doing like fun dances and stuff like that. Like just kind of giving people a window into who I am as a person. Because yes, I want to be serious in business and I want to be taken seriously, but I'm also human. So I have a fun side. I have a mom side. I have, a side when I'm out with my friends. I have a side when I'm speaking in front of a group. There's different sides to people, and that just adds dimension to who you are and to what your brand stands for. And you need to start highlighting those things.
I agree 100%. That's huge when I'm coaching my clients is, are you putting on social media on all of your outlets 3 posts a day? And one has to be your trueness, who you are with your kids, your family, your pets, your friends. Always, every day, you need to post your human interaction as you. Show up as you. People will love you. Quit telling lies, or quit like showing up in a different way than you really are, during that showtime, during that that post or whatever, is that Showtime or is that really you? Because
Yeah.
over time you're going to forget what that Showtime was on that specific day, and somebody may ask you about that and it was Showtime, so you're going to forget about it. So if you always show up as yourself, you never have to say, ooh, how did I perform on that day? Because you should show up as yourself. And then you want to have your brand out there, you want to unsilence your brand, and you want to put stuff in there with your brand. And then you have to have something that's educational. What's something that you can speak on that's educational, that can help your community, who can help people that are following you? So posting those 3 things per day will immediately get the consumer to see this person knows what they're talking about because they've told me about this trending topic, or they've given me some information, educated me on something I didn't know. Oh, but look at their brand. Ooh, I might should forward this to somebody that needs that, or I might need it. So you want to talk about your brand, but then you have to have family and you have to be.
Yeah. We're all running a lifestyle brand, whether we realize it or not, because
Yes.
the business pages are great, but at the end of the day, it's more interesting to follow a person than a brand, right? Like I love J Lo. She is a brand. It's her personal page. It's Jennifer Lopez, but her brand is well, the reason we
Yeah.
follow her and buy her stuff is because we love her, right? And we watch her and we see her with her kids and her husband. And she mentions the things that she sells, but it's not just a page full of business stuff because that's boring. No one wants to
Yep.
see that all the
Yep.
time.
Yep.
People want to know what you like and what you're interested in and how you feel about stuff. And I think that's why one thing I started doing was going live, which I don't enjoy a lot because I'm always like, what's my hair like? What's my makeup like? Right. But what I realize is when I'm like, I just don't throw makeup on. I go on this live, I look like a mess,
Hey,
and
look at me.
people you look great. People just love it because it's real. They're like,
Real.
wow, she's not sitting at her desk at 8 a.m. with full makeup and hair done. Like she's just a regular person. And that makes them trust me more.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I totally agree. And I love me some J-Lo. Jenny from the block, because in my newest book it'll say I'm Tracy from the trailer. So totally, that's my girl. But it's being real, and it's my first book, and this book talks about addiction. It talks about losing everything in my past, and I share those stories. One story that I shared on my blog was I used to play with Barbies as a child.
Me too.
Barbie had so many jobs. It was like you could like act out Barbie and all these different jobs and cars and boyfriends and friends and like her stilettos alone. And so as a child, I didn't realize I was preparing myself for today. You know,
Yeah,
I was preparing myself for adventures, for vacations, for the avatar of a Ken. And so you don't realize that,
that's
your
true.
child, but I couldn't afford a lot. So a lot of my fake Barbies were like the Sears and J.C. Penney catalog. So when they would come in about that thick, I was cutting them out like paper dolls. So we had lots of outfits that we could, show off and
That's
create.
awesome. I love to play with Barbies too, super creative. And I save them all for my daughters and now they play with them all the time. And it really sparks their creativity and entrepreneurship because they set up Barbie shops. They make clothes out of paper, they make clothes out of like fabric. And I really love that. And I feel like it's really good to have those things in your life when you're younger and just kind of utilize your brain a little more instead of being like a zombie.
I know, right? Or just being on the internet all the time and TikToking and who's on Instagram
Yeah.
and what drama do you have over here? It's
And that's
really
the thing. Yes, the drama, like get on social media purposefully. This is what I tell my coaching clients is get in, do your thing, interact with your people that are potential clients or your audience, and then exit. Don't get
out.
stuck
Yeah.
there scrolling and all that because this is valuable time. And we're all here. I think most people I work with, the main theme that we want is freedom, right? So I love to travel. I love to spend time with my daughters. I'm a single mom, so it's really important to me. And I don't wait for the weekend. I don't live for the weekend. Every single day, I choose to structure my day so that I can do something I enjoy either at the beginning or the end. At some point during the day, like yesterday, I took a break. It was like the middle of the day to watch a movie with my daughter because she was really feeling like snuggly. Great. So we did that. The night before, we went to the beach and we walked on the boardwalk. This is something I do every day because I don't want to live for big moments. I want to live my life every day. I want to love my life every day and have the freedom to enjoy it every day.
Yes, creating those magical moments on a daily basis is awesome because while you're with them, while you're walking the beach or, watching a movie in the middle of the day, you're not stressed out about, oh, I wonder what's on my phone, who's waiting for me, because you're controlling your day.
Right.
You have created a lifestyle that you're not stressing out about where the next check is coming from, when the next idea is coming, because during that downtime, when you're getting those magical memories and you are creating this, it's also stopping your brain from doing all this crazy stuff. If it's like mine, ADHD, you're thinking all over your brain, your toes are thinking, your fingers are thinking. And it's like after that time and that moment of that clearness of just relaxing, bigger ideas come from that. If you're stressed out 24/7 or you're running behind with anxiety and all this stuff, you're never going to have time to figure out what the next thing is or how to elevate and pivot where you're at. And so that's huge,
It is.
taking that time out and not just sit on the couch going through your social media, because I agree, and to know something was huge for me is I do what you said, go on there, post what you need to, engage where you need to, and don't get caught up in all the drama. And the coolest thing that Facebook has is that you can put them on silent. Like you can silence these people that are causing drama to your news feed and you don't even have to see it. And so that's great. So then when you do get on there, it's going to be whatever Siri or Alexa wants to put in your phone that they heard you talking about that's going to show
Yeah.
up in your sponsored ads. And then it's going to be all the good stuff that you do want to see that's positive in your life that you can
Yes.
contribute back to and engage with those people, because those are the people that you want to build a rapport with and engage with, not the negative.
That's exactly it. And that's why building this life freedom has so many layers to it, in my opinion, right? We have financial freedom. So if you work for yourself, you get unlimited earning potential. Really, the sky's the limit. The work that you put in and the work that you want to cultivate, whether that's small or large, that's up to you. You don't have a ceiling that you can hit. And that's freedom. Time freedom, to include things you love every day, to spend time with the people that you like, work on your own schedule. And then there's this freedom of choice, because if you build the company that you want, that adheres to the values that are authentic to you, then guess what? You get to choose who your clients are. You're not just taking whoever comes because you're scared you're not going to make rent or you're nervous you won't have the money. You get to choose because you've done the work, laid the foundation in your mindset and your business to have this freedom to choose who is ideal for you. And guess what all of that does? It makes your life filled with happiness and positivity. You're attracting the right people. Your news feed will be more positive. And you suddenly have this life filled of amazing things instead of a life filled with dread and people like slaving in their 9 to 5s, miserable all the time and complaining about it on social media.
I agree. I told my in one of the companies that I own, that was huge. It was really having that aha moment that says, you know what? We are no longer going to cringe when our phone rings. If we're doing business with someone that is cussing, that is always negative, that's always complaining, you can't do anything happy. They know everything is this way, and you got to do it this way, even though they hired you as a professional. We don't need all of that. And so, it was like, aha, we don't need all of that business. And now it turns the situation around. They're no longer interviewing us. We're actually interviewing them to see if they're the fit, if we want to do business with them. And I can promise you, it was the best aha moment to say, you know what? I don't need all the business. I don't need every single person to work with us. I need the best people.
Yeah.
People that they're paying us a lot of money, and we have a system in place that works like a machine. We've been doing it for 22 years. So I can promise you, we're going to lead down the right path and we're going to give you the best information. and don't derail us, you know? And
Yeah.
it's really huge.
In my opinion, when you start to get clients who are not a fit, you don't want to work with them or they're giving you a hard time, that's a great message, because that means that your brand is unsilenced and so clear that you are not for everybody. Because
Right.
you don't want to be for everybody. You want to find your way, your message, your voice, and you want to push that message out to the world. And whoever is attracted to that voice, that's your ideal client, and everyone else will be repelled from you. And that is a good thing, because if you're not for everybody, and
No.
that's a beautiful thing to embrace.
Yes, absolutely. So tell the audience and listeners where they can find your information.
All right. So here's my book, guys. It's called Pivot and Slay. It's all about mindset mastery in business and in life and how they interact with one another. And you can find my book. You can find my coaching program all on my website, which is pivotandslay.com. And you can follow me on Instagram or Facebook at the Jessica Dennehy.
And I love your website. So I'm going to pick your brain about that. I've got some stuff on your website. I'm like, oh, I need to ask more questions about that. So if you're listening,
I have a lot of good stuff on there. I have free resources for anyone that's looking to start out with mindset tweaks. And like I said, you can apply to be even part of my coaching program there. But I also have, I think, a lot of free resources that would help people just start on their journey to cultivating a better mindset and really seeing how that will help them show up better in their business.
Well, if you're listening, please go and follow Jessica. Go check out her book. Where can they find your book at?
On my website or on Amazon.
Perfect. I'm going to order it. So I know that all of our listeners are going to do the same, because I know that Pivot and Slay is huge, especially with a hustler and founder and CEOs. You definitely need to pivot and slay. And we appreciate you, Jessica, joining us as a special guest.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate being here.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.